The council chamber was silent as Ambassador Yoon walked to the center. His movements were different now, no longer carefully respectful, but precise and controlled. Captain Jeho stood beside him, hands clasped behind his back in what looked like a relaxed pose. But the aliens who understood human body language could see he was ready to move in an instant. Council members, Yoon began, his voice clear and strong. I believe it's time we had an honest conversation about Earth. The display screens around the chamber lit up. Images appeared, Earth's oceans and mountains, its cities and farms. Humanity evolved on what you call a death world. Yoon continued. Our gravity is 1.5 times stronger than Council standard. Our weather includes storms that can flatten cities. Our planet has experienced 5 mass extinctions. The screens changed to show predators, lions hunting on the African plains, sharks in the deep ocean, eagles swooping from the sky. To survive on Earth, you must be strong, Yoon said. You must be smart. You must be adaptable. Now the screen showed something else: human history, ancient battles, modern wars, cities in ruins. For most of our history, we fought each other. Yoon's voice remained calm as terrible images filled the screens. We nearly destroyed ourselves many times. Several council members shifted uncomfortably. The Arathi representative's cloud-like form swirled faster with concern. But we learned, Yoon continued. The screens now showed peace treaties, international cooperation, space missions. We discovered that working together was better than fighting. That talking was better than shooting. That politeness was a choice worth making. He paused, looking around the chamber. Our politeness was never weakness. It was wisdom, a lesson paid for with blood. Captain Jeho stepped forward. When we came to the council, we showed you respect. Not because we were afraid, not because we were weak, but because we thought you were worthy of it. The screens changed again. Now they showed Earth's hidden military capabilities, advanced ships far beyond the Concordia, weapons systems that no one in the council had seen before. Gasps echoed through the chamber. The Krull representative, Grox, stood up sharply. Deception, she growled. You hid your true technology. No, Jeho replied calmly. We simply didn't show everything at once, just as you didn't. Dr. Haynewell stepped forward, tablet in hand. Our long-range sensors have been tracking your fleet movements for years. We know about the ships hidden behind Pluto's orbit. We know about the spy satellites around Mars. Taiwan joined them. And we know about the assassins sent to Earth last month. They are currently enjoying their stay in a very comfortable prison. The council was in shock. The Durrani representative, Velthar, tried to regain control. These accusations are not accusations, Yoon interrupted. They are facts. We have evidence of everything. He looked directly at the Krull and Phidian representatives. You have mistaken good manners for submission. This was an error. The chamber was completely silent now. Even the minor species were watching with wide eyes, or whatever they used to see. Here is our ultimatum, Captain Jeho said. You will withdraw all ships from Earth space immediately. You will pay for any damage to our colony. You will acknowledge Earth's borders as extending to all current and future human settlements. And if we refuse, the Phidian representative asked, his jewels dim in the chamber's light. Jeho's face showed no emotion. Then we will be forced to demonstrate why Earth is classified as a death world. The Arathi representative, Seleth, moved forward. Surely there is room for negotiation. That time has passed, Yoon said. His voice was not angry, just final. You had your chance for diplomacy. You chose to test us instead. He looked around the chamber once more. You have 1 hour to decide. We will await your answer aboard the Concordia. As the human delegation turned to leave, the ancient Sylvan spoke. You hide much behind your politeness, they said. Ambassador Yoon paused at the door. Yes, he agreed. and you should be grateful for that. Dr. Haynul Park moved quietly through the less crowded areas of the council station. The human delegation had been given guest quarters and limited access to public areas. But Haynul had a small device hidden in her sleeve, a gift from Earth's security forces that temporarily confused most alien security systems. Captain Jeho had asked her to gather more information. Their official meetings were going well, but something felt wrong. Ambassador Yun is too trusting, Ta-1 had argued during their private meeting. These aliens see us as simple newcomers they can trick. Haynul slipped down a side corridor, following the map on her small scanner. The station was huge, with hundreds of different species walking its hallways. Most paid no attention to the human scientist who looked like she belonged there. She stopped when her scanner picked up voices from behind a door marked with Phidian symbols. Her translator device activated automatically. Earth has the largest deposits of rare metals we've found in decades, a Phidian voice was saying. Their titanium alone would be worth controlling. The humans are surprisingly difficult to read. Another voice responded, a crawl, by the sound of it. They act peaceful despite their deadly world. Our intelligence suggests this is cultural, not biological, the Phidian replied. They nearly destroyed themselves several times before developing their current polite behavior. It's a thin shell over their true nature. Haynul moved closer to the door. How do we solve the human problem? The crawl asked. They're too polite to resist proper economic infiltration, the Phidian said with a sound like laughter. We've analyzed their diplomatic responses. They constantly seek compromise, avoid giving offense, and apologize even when they've done nothing wrong. Weaknesses to exploit, the crawl agreed. The council votes tomorrow on their probationary status. Once approved, we can begin the process of guiding their development. Haynul had heard enough. She slipped away and returned to the human quarters as quickly as possible. Back in their secure room, she reported everything to Captain Jeho, Ambassador Yun, and Ta-1. They see our diplomatic approach as weakness, she concluded. They're planning to exploit Earth once we join the Council. Ambassador Yun frowned. This contradicts their official statements about mutual benefit and cultural exchange. Politics is the same everywhere, it seems, Jeho said. We show respect, and they mistake it for submission. Ta-1's hand moved to the weapon hidden under his formal jacket. Maybe we should show them what humans are really like. No, Jeho said firmly. We follow protocol. For now. Haynul pulled up data on her tablet. I've been studying council history. Every new species goes through this testing phase. The crawl resisted with force and were isolated for decades. The Arathi gave in completely and lost valuable resources. And what happened to species that found a middle path? Ambassador Yun asked. Haynul looked up. There isn't one. Each new member either fights and loses, or submits and loses. Jeho stood up and walked to the window overlooking the vast space station. Stars glittered beyond the massive structure. They don't understand us, he said quietly. They think politeness is our only mode. They haven't realized it's a choice. Ambassador Yun nodded slowly. We should continue as planned. Attend tomorrow's vote, accept probationary status, and observe. And if they move against Earth? Ta-1 asked. Jeho turned from the window, his face calm, but his eyes hard. Then they learn why Earth is called a death world. Later that night, Haynul couldn't sleep. She used her scanner to examine their quarters and found 3 different listening devices. They had expected this, of course. All their sensitive conversations happened in a secure inner room specially designed to block surveillance. As she disabled the devices one by one, Haynul thought about the aliens' plans. They thought humans were simple, easy to understand and predict. They were about to make a very big mistake. The council chamber buzzed with voices as Ambassador Yun stood at the center. The vote had been taken. Earth was now a probationary member of the Galactic Council. Captain Jeho and Dr. Haynul watched from their small platform, as Yoon bowed respectfully to each council representative. "We are honored by your acceptance," Yoon said. His voice was warm and friendly, but Jae-ho could see the careful calculation in his eyes. The Kral representative, Grox, stepped forward. "As a welcoming gesture, we propose establishing a military outpost in your solar system. For mutual protection, of course." Jae-ho tensed. This matched exactly what Hae-Nul had overheard. Yoon's smile never faltered. "Thank you for your generous offer. However, Earth prefers to maintain its own defense systems at this time." "Unwise," Grox rumbled. "A young species needs guidance and protection." "Perhaps in the future," Yoon replied smoothly. "For now, we must respectfully decline." The Kral's eyes narrowed, but she stepped back. The Phidian representative immediately took her place, gems glittering across his scales. "Then surely you will accept our offer of economic advisors. Your planetary markets are underdeveloped by galactic standards." Again, Yoon politely refused, suggesting instead a gradual exchange program that would be fair to both sides. Jae-ho watched the council members exchange glances. They had not expected resistance, even polite resistance. Later that evening, a reception was held to celebrate Earth's new status. The grand hall was filled with representatives from dozens of worlds. Exotic foods and drinks covered long tables, and strange music played from hidden speakers. Security Chief Taiwan Lee moved carefully through the crowd, his eyes constantly scanning. Captain Jae-ho had ordered him to maintain high alert after the day's events. Taiwan noticed 3 Phidians slip away from the main party. Something about their movements seemed wrong. He followed them, keeping his distance. The aliens entered a restricted area, the corridor leading to the Concordia's docking bay. Taiwan tapped his wrist communicator once, alerting Jae-ho, then continued following. The Phidians stopped at a data terminal near the Concordia. One of them produced a small device and connected it to the terminal. "This is a secure area," Taiwan said, stepping into view. "May I ask what you're doing?" The lead Phidian turned, jewels flashing in the dim light. "Ah, a human guard. We are simply checking connection protocols. Council business." "At a terminal connected to our ship?" Taiwan asked, his voice still polite. "Without notifying our delegation. Primitive concepts of privacy do not apply here," another Phidian said with a dismissive wave. "All data belongs to the Council." Taiwan stepped closer. "I must ask you to disconnect your device." "We have diplomatic immunity," the first Phidian said. "Your Earth customs don't matter here." Taiwan smiled. It was not a friendly smile. "Last chance." The Phidians looked at each other, then back at the human. "Or what? Will you file a complaint? Submit a formal protest." Before Taiwan could respond, his communicator beeped urgently. Captain Jae-ho's voice came through clearly. "Security Chief, return to our quarters immediately. We have an emergency." Taiwan backed away from the Phidians, who watched him with smug expressions. "This isn't over," he said before turning to leave. When he reached their secure room, he found Captain Jae-ho, Ambassador Yoon, and Dr. Hae-Nul huddled around a communication screen. Their faces were grim. "What happened?" Taiwan asked. Jae-ho looked up, his eyes cold with anger. "We just received an emergency transmission from Earth. A Kral Phidian fleet has been detected near our colony on Proxima Centauri V. They're claiming it's a routine patrol," Hae-Nul added, "but our sensors show weapons charged." "It gets worse," Ambassador Yoon said. "They've already fired on our warning buoys." Taiwan's hand moved to his weapon. So much for diplomacy. Jae-ho's face had changed. The calm, polite diplomat was gone, replaced by something harder and more dangerous. "Prepare the Concordia for immediate departure," he ordered, "and send a message to the Council. We demand an emergency session." "What should I tell them?" Hae-Nul asked. Jae-ho's voice was quiet but filled with cold purpose. "Tell them it's time they learned who they're really dealing with." Ambassador Do Hyun-yoon walked with perfect posture as he entered the Great Hall of the Galactic Council. Captain Jai-ho and Dr. Hae-Newell followed close behind. The room was enormous, with a high ceiling that showed the stars above through a clear dome. 7 large platforms arranged in a circle dominated the space, each holding representatives from the major galactic powers. "Impressive," whispered Jai-ho to Hae-Newell. "Built to make visitors feel small." Hae-Newell nodded slightly. Her scanner, disguised as a simple tablet, quietly gathered data on the various species present. A tall blue-skinned alien with 4 arms approached them. "Welcome, humans. I am Trelk, assistant to the High Council. Please follow me." As they walked, Jai-ho studied the 7 major council races. The Durrani stood on the highest platform, thin, gray-skinned beings with large heads who controlled much of the galaxy's information networks. Beside them were the scholarly Vex, whose translucent bodies glowed with inner light. The merchant Phidians occupied another platform, their scale-covered bodies draped in valuable metals and gems. The warrior Krawl stood opposite, massive and heavily armored, watching the humans with obvious distrust. The diplomatic Arathi floated rather than walked, their cloud-like lower bodies drifting above their platform. The ancient Sylvans, rumored to be the oldest species in the galaxy, sat motionless in special environmental suits. And finally, the enigmatic Myrex, whose true appearance was hidden beneath shifting cloaks of mist. Trelk led them to a small platform, noticeably lower than the others. "Earth's delegation may address the council from here," he said with a slight bow that somehow managed to seem condescending. Ambassador Yoon smiled politely. "Thank you for your hospitality." A deep tone sounded, and the hall fell silent. The head of the Durrani delegation, Velfar, rose to speak. "We recognize the human delegation from the planet Earth, a newly spacefaring world seeking probationary membership in the Galactic Council." Velfar's voice was smooth and confident. "We welcome you, though you have much to learn about galactic society." Ambassador Yoon stepped forward. "Esteemed council members, we thank you for this opportunity. Earth is young among the stars, but we bring fresh perspectives and a strong desire for peaceful cooperation." The Krawl representative, a massive female named Grox, rumbled with a sound like distant thunder. "Your species comes from a death world, yet you speak of peace. This does not match our data." "Adaptation takes many forms," Yoon replied calmly. "Humans learned long ago that cooperation often leads to better outcomes than conflict." The Phidian representative, glittering with jewels, leaned forward. "Your world is rich in resources we find valuable. We look forward to beneficial trade arrangements." Jai-ho noticed how the alien emphasized beneficial and exchanged a quick glance with Hae-Newell. "We welcome fair trade," Yoon said with a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. The reception continued for hours. Each council race questioned the humans, often with subtle insults hidden within their words. Throughout it all, Ambassador Yoon remained perfectly diplomatic, neither showing offense nor giving ground on important matters. After the formal reception, the council members mingled with the human delegation in a large hall filled with exotic foods and drinks. Captain Jai-ho found himself approached by Velfar, the Durrani leader. "Your ambassador performs admirably," the alien said, studying Jai-ho with large, unblinking eyes. "So controlled, so diplomatic." "Thank you," Jai-ho replied. "We value clear communication." Indeed, Velfar's mouth curved in what might have been a smile. It is refreshing to see primitives who understand the value of proper behavior. Jai-ho's face remained pleasant, though something flashed in his eyes for just a moment. "We're all learning," he said simply. Across the room, Hae-Newell was recording everything with her hidden scanner when she noticed several council members watching the humans with unusual intensity. "Captain," she said quietly when she could speak privately with Jai-ho, "I believe we're being evaluated more carefully than we expected." Jai-ho nodded. "Yes, they're trying to figure out if we're naive or just pretending to be." "And which are we?" Hae-Newell asked with a small smile. "Neither," Jai-ho replied. "We're being polite. There's a difference." As the reception ended, Ambassador Yoon rejoined them. "First impressions made, for better or worse," he said quietly. "Now the real work begins." The Emergency Council session began 3 hours later. All 7 major species were present, along with representatives from 12 minor races. Captain Je-ho stood beside Ambassador Yoon at the center of the chamber. Dr. Hae-Nul and Taiwan flanked them, their faces serious. Gone were the polite smiles and careful diplomacy of earlier meetings. The human delegation stood straight, their eyes hard. "We have called this emergency session," Ambassador Yoon began, his voice clear and cold, "because Krull and Phidian ships have attacked an Earth colony." The Krull representative, Grox, made a dismissive gesture. "A misunderstanding. Your colony was established in disputed territory." "There was no dispute," Je-ho said. His voice was quiet but carried throughout the chamber. "Proxima Centauri is 4.2 light-years from Earth. Your nearest territory is over 20 light-years away." The Phidian representative's jewels glittered as he moved forward. The patrol was routine. "Your warning buoys were aggressive in nature." "They were standard navigational markers," Hae-Nul corrected. She activated a holographic display showing the buoys, simple devices with no weapons. They posed no threat. For the first time, other council members began to look concerned. The Arathi representative, a cloud-like being named Selith, drifted closer. "How many casualties?" she asked softly. "None yet," Yoon replied. "But the colony has over 2,000 civilians, including 500 children." The chamber grew quiet. Even the Krull and Phidians seemed uncertain now. "We demand immediate withdrawal of all forces near Earth space," Yoon continued. His usual diplomatic phrasing was gone. Now he spoke in direct statements, his words precise and clipped. Velthar of the Durrani leaned forward. "Ambassador Yoon, your tone has changed. Remember that as a probationary member, Earth must show proper respect to the Council." Je-ho stepped forward. The humans had not been invited to speak further, but he did not wait for permission. "Respect is earned," he said. Each word fell like a stone. "We came to you in peace. We followed your protocols. We were polite." Eun-ji Choi, who had been quietly translating for the delegation, now stood beside them. No longer was she converting human idioms into alien concepts to make the aliens more comfortable. Her face was as serious as the others. "Your ships are 10 minutes from firing range of our colony," she said, checking a small device. "We require your answer now." The Krull representative growled. "Humans do not make demands of the Council. Note your place." Something changed in the room. The human delegation seemed to stand taller, their postures shifting subtly. It was not an aggressive movement, but somehow, every alien in the chamber sensed danger. The ancient Sylvan representative, silent until now, suddenly spoke, their voice crackling through their environmental suit. "Wait," they said. "I sense a change in the humans." The Arathi representative, Selith, drifted closer to the humans, her cloud-like form swirling with concern. "Ambassador Yoon," she said quietly, "your species, you are not what you appeared to be." Yoon met her gaze steadily. "We are exactly what we always were. You simply made assumptions." Captain Je-ho tapped his communicator. "Concordia. Status report." A voice replied clearly for all to hear. "Colony defense systems activated, Captain. Emergency protocols in effect. The civilian population is moving to shelter." Hae-Nul's tablet beeped, and she looked down at it. Her eyes widened slightly. "Captain," she said, "Earth has activated the Sentinel Protocol." Taiwan almost smiled at this news. Almost. The council chamber erupted in confused questions. The Krull demanded to know what this Sentinel Protocol was. The Phidians called for order. The minor species began talking among themselves. Velthar of the Durrani raised all 4 of his hands for silence. When the chamber quieted, he addressed the humans. "There seems to be a significant misunderstanding," he said carefully. "Perhaps we should discuss this matter privately." Jaiho shook his head once. No more private discussions. No more diplomatic games. He looked around the chamber, meeting the gaze of each council race. There has been, he said clearly, a fundamental misunderstanding about humanity's nature. 1 hour passed. Then 2. The human delegation waited aboard the Concordia, the ship's engines humming quietly, ready for immediate departure. They think we're bluffing, Todd 1 said, checking his weapon systems. The security chief had changed from his formal clothes into a dark uniform. Captain Jiho stood by the main viewport, watching the massive council station. They don't understand yet. Dr. Haynewell's tablet beeped. She read the message and looked up. The Krall-Phidian fleet near our colony is still advancing. They've ignored our warnings. Jaiho nodded once. Then they've made their choice. He turned to communications specialist Eunji. Send the signal. Eunji's fingers moved across her console. Signal sent, Captain. Ambassador Yoon looked concerned. What happens now? Now, Jaiho said quietly. We wait. On the main screen, they could see the council chamber. The 7 major species were arguing loudly. The Krall representative was pounding a massive fist on the table. The Phidian's jewels flashed angrily as he spoke. They clearly did not believe the human threat was real. Suddenly, the chamber went silent. A messenger had entered, one of the Durrani assistants. He spoke quickly to Velthar, whose gray face seemed to grow even paler. What's happening? Yoon asked. Haynewell was monitoring communications. The Proxima colony is sending updates. The Krall-Phidian fleet has gone silent. All 27 ships. The whisper has done its job, Jaiho said with satisfaction. On the screen, chaos erupted in the council chamber. The Krall representative was shouting, demanding answers. The Phidian seemed to be calling someone on a communication device, but getting no response. Captain, Eunji called out. We're receiving an emergency call from the council. Put it through, Jaiho ordered. Velthar's face appeared on the screen. The Durrani leader looked shaken. Captain Jaiho, what have you done to the fleet? Nothing permanent, Jaiho replied calmly. The ships and crews are unarmed. Their weapons, engines, and communication systems are temporarily disabled. Impossible, Velthar said. No species has such technology. We do, Jaiho said simply. The ship you thought was a merchant vessel near Proxima. It's actually a defense platform we call the Whisper. It emits a field that safely shuts down advanced technology. The effect will wear off in 12 hours. There was a long silence as Velthar processed this information. You could have destroyed them, he said finally. We could have, Jaiho agreed. But we chose not to. Remember that. The council chamber was now visible again on another screen. The Krall representative was demanding military action against Earth. The Phidian was calling for sanctions. Taiwan stepped forward, his face serious. Captain, with your permission, I'd like to explain something to the council. Jaiho nodded. Taiwan moved to the communication screen. Council members, the security chief said. All eyes in the chamber turned to him. What you just witnessed was a defensive technology. We developed it specifically to avoid killing. He let that sink in before continuing. You should know that humanity has created far more lethal weapons in our history. We know how to split atoms to level cities. We know how to engineer diseases that target specific genetic codes. We know how to build machines that can fight without rest. The chamber was completely silent now. We chose not to bring those weapons to the stars, Taiwan said. We chose to be better than our past. But make no mistake, we remember how to use them. Ambassador Yoon joined him. Our colony is safe. Your fleet is disabled but unharmed. Now shall we return to diplomacy? Real diplomacy this time. The ancient Sylvan representative spoke up. You have hidden your true nature well, humans. Not hidden, Yoon corrected. Controlled. There's a difference. The council will need time to discuss this. Development, Velthar said carefully. Jaiho nodded. You have 6 hours. After that, we expect a formal response to our ultimatum. As the communication ended, Newell turned to the others. Do you think they understand now? They're beginning to, Jai-Ho said. But I believe they need one more lesson. 6 hours later, the human delegation returned to the council chamber. This time, they were not directed to the small, low platform. Instead, 7 chairs had been placed in the center, equal in height to the council members' own seats. Captain Jai-Ho noted the change with a slight nod as they entered. The message was clear. The council now saw them as equals, if reluctantly. The chamber was fuller than before. Representatives from dozens of minor species lined the walls, eager to witness what would happen next. News of the disabled fleet had spread quickly throughout the station. Velthar rose as the humans took their seats. The council has discussed your demonstration. We are prepared to address your concerns. Good, Ambassador Yoon said simply. Dr. Newell stepped forward. In her hands was her tablet, now displaying data that she projected onto the chamber's main screens. Before we begin, she said, there are some facts you should know. The screens filled with images of alien ships near Earth, secret meetings between council representatives, and hidden bases in Earth's solar system. Over the past 5 years, Newell explained, we have detected and countered 17 separate espionage operations against Earth. We have identified 32 attempts to steal our technology. We have intercepted 64 communications discussing plans to exploit our resources. The council members shifted uncomfortably. The Fidian representative's jewels had dulled completely. You knew? He asked. We knew everything, Newell confirmed. We just chose not to mention it. The Arathi representative, Selith, drifted forward. Her cloud-like form seemed less agitated than the others. If I may speak, she said, not all council members supported these actions. Some of us warned against underestimating humans. The ancient Sylvan nodded their environment suit in agreement. The signs were there for those who wished to see. A species does not survive a death world by being simple. Velthar raised his 4 hands for order. What is it you want, humans? Revenge. Ambassador Yoon shook his head. No, if we wanted revenge, you would know it by now. He stood and walked to the center of the chamber. What we want is understanding. Real understanding. At his signal, Yunji activated new images on the screens. These showed Earth's history, but not the wars this time. Instead, they showed people helping each other after disasters. Different nations working together on space missions. Former enemies signing peace treaties. Humanity's greatest strength isn't our ability to fight, Yoon explained. It's our ability to stop fighting. To choose cooperation even when every instinct screams for conflict. Captain Jai-Ho joined him. After our last World War, we realized we had 2 choices, work together or die together. We chose life. Taiwan stepped forward next. Our politeness protocol isn't weakness. It's what we developed to prevent our own extinction. But make no mistake, Newell added, it's a choice we make every day, not something forced on us by nature or biology. Ambassador Yoon looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of each council representative. We aren't angry about your attempts to spy on us or steal from us. We expected that and prepared for it. What angered us was the attack on our colony. Our colonies contain our children, Jai-Ho said, his voice suddenly hard. Our future, that is where our patience ends. The chamber was silent as the aliens processed this information. Finally, the Kral representative, Grox, spoke. Why did you hide your true nature from us? She demanded. We didn't hide it, Yoon replied. You simply saw what you expected to see, polite newcomers who could be easily controlled. You never asked why a species from a death world would be so diplomatic. Velthar's large eyes blinked slowly. What happens now? Captain Jai-Ho's face was calm again, but there was steel in his voice. Now you make a choice. You can continue to see us as enemies to be manipulated, or you can accept us as equals with our own strengths and boundaries." He paused, letting his words sink in. "Choose carefully. Human politeness is a door that swings both ways. It can open, or it can close." The stars looked different from here. Captain Jae-ho Kim stood on the main deck of the ESV Concordia, watching the massive space station grow larger in the view screen. After 3 weeks of faster-than-light travel, they had arrived at the heart of galactic politics, the Galactic Council headquarters. "Nervous, Captain?" asked Dr. Hae-Nul Park as she joined him at the viewport. The chief science officer's dark eyes reflected the distant stars. "Cautious," Jae-ho replied. "Humans have only had FTL travel for 8 years. Most species out here have had thousands." Hae-Nul nodded. "And they all seem to think we're very strange." The year was 2157, and humanity had finally taken its place among the stars. The Concordia was Earth's finest vessel, built specifically for this diplomatic mission. Its sleek design housed the most advanced technology humans had developed, though much of it remained carefully hidden from alien sensors. "Communication channel open, Captain," called Eun Ji-choi from her station. The communication specialist adjusted her headset. "The Council is welcoming us to dock at Bay 17. Jae-ho straightened his dark blue uniform. "Confirm our approach, and remind the crew, best behavior. We represent all of Earth today." Security Chief Ta-Won Lee snorted from his position by the door. "So we keep smiling while they look down on us." "We show respect," Jae-ho corrected, "as we would to anyone. That doesn't mean we show weakness." This was the delicate balance humanity had struck since first contact 5 years ago. Earth was classified as a death world by galactic standards: higher gravity, extreme weather, dangerous wildlife, and varied terrain that had forced humans to become adaptable and resilient. Most species evolved on much gentler worlds. They found it puzzling that creatures from such a harsh planet could be so diplomatic. What they didn't understand was that humans were polite by choice, not by nature. The Concordia eased into the docking bay, mechanical arms extending to secure the ship. Through the viewport, Jae-ho could see the welcoming committee, 6 different alien species standing in formal lines. "Atmosphere is compatible with human biology," Hae-Nul confirmed, checking her tablet. "Gravity set to Earth standard. They're accommodating us." "Good start," Jae-ho said. "Ta-Won, final security check." The security chief nodded. "All systems secure. The ambassador is ready in the diplomatic quarters." Ambassador Do Hyun-yoon was Earth's official representative to the Council. A career diplomat, he had worked tirelessly to secure this meeting. After years of distant communications and minor trade agreements, humanity was finally being considered for probationary membership in the Galactic Council. "Captain," Eun-jae called out, her voice suddenly tense, "I'm picking up some interesting comm traffic between Council security vessels. They're discussing us." "Let's hear it," Jae-ho ordered. Eun-jae activated the translator, and an alien voice filled the bridge. "Amusing that they think they're ready. The Death Worlders are certainly resilient, but they lack the maturity for Council politics. Still, their resources make them worth cultivating." Another voice responded. "The humans are oddly polite for predator species. It makes them easier to manage than the Crawl were." Jae-ho and Hae-Nul exchanged glances. This confirmed their suspicions. The Council didn't see humans as equals. "They think our politeness is weakness," Ta-Won said quietly. Jae-ho nodded, his face calm despite the insult. "Let them think that for now. We have our orders: establish diplomatic relations, observe Council dynamics, and protect Earth's interests." He turned to his crew, his expression serious. "Remember, everyone, humanity has survived ice ages, plagues, world wars, and our own near extinction. We chose cooperation not because we're weak, but because we know the cost of conflict." A soft chime indicated the docking process was complete. "Time to meet the neighbors," Jae-ho said, straightening his uniform once more. "Let's show them Earth's best face." As the airlock doors began to open, Hae-Nul whispered, "And hope they never see our worst." 1 Earth week later, Captain Jae-ho Kim entered the council chamber and paused in surprise. The room had changed completely. The 7 high platforms were gone. In their place stood a large round table with equal seats for all representatives. Ambassador Yoon was already there, reviewing documents on a small screen. He looked up as Jae-ho approached. "Quite a change," Jae-ho said, gesturing to the new arrangement. Yoon nodded. The Arathi suggested it. The Sylvan supported it. The others agreed it was time for something new. Dr. Hae-Nul and Security Chief Ta-won joined them, followed by Eun-ji. The communications specialist looked around with approval. "No more looking up at the superior species," she said quietly. The chamber began to fill. Representatives from all council races took their seats. Jae-ho noticed new faces among the Kral and Phidians. The previous representatives were recalled by their governments. Hae-Nul explained, checking her tablet. Apparently, they failed in their duties. Velthur of the Durrani called the session to order. His usual arrogance was gone, replaced by a careful formality. "We recognize Ambassador Yoon of Earth, who wishes to address the council." Yoon stood, his posture straight and confident. The polite diplomat was still there, but now everyone could see the steel beneath. "Thank you," he began. "Earth has considered the Council's response to recent events. We accept your apology for the actions against our colony and your commitment to respect our borders." He placed a data crystal on the table. This contains the terms for Earth's continued relationship with the Council. Not requests, terms. The crystal projected images above the table. Trade agreements, technology exchanges, defense protocols, all clearly defined with firm boundaries. Earth will not seek punishment for past actions. Yoon continued, "We prefer to look forward. However, we will not tolerate any future aggression against human settlements or interests." The new Kral representative, a female smaller than Grox, but with sharper teeth, leaned forward. "And what do we gain from these terms?" Captain Jae-ho tapped a control, and the display changed. New images appeared. Medical technology, agricultural innovations, and environmental restoration techniques. Earth has developed these technologies to survive our challenging world, Jae-ho explained. They can benefit all species, especially those struggling with limited resources. Dr. Hae-Nul added, "Our medical advances can treat diseases that currently have no cures in Council space. We offer these freely, as part of our commitment to cooperation." The Council chamber was silent as the aliens studied the offerings. Even the most hostile species seemed impressed by what humans were willing to share. Seleth of the Arathi drifted forward, her cloud-like form glowing gently. "I move that we accept Earth's terms and welcome them as full Council members, not merely probationary ones." The ancient Sylvan seconded the motion. One by one, each species voted. Even the Kral and Phidians agreed, though with visible reluctance. "The motion passes unanimously," Velthar announced. "Earth is now a full member of the Galactic Council." As the formal proceedings ended, Captain Jae-ho and his crew prepared to return to the Concordia. Their mission was complete, and more successful than anyone had expected. "We'll need to establish a permanent embassy here," Yoon told Jae-ho as they walked, "with a direct line to Earth Command." Jae-ho nodded. "And proper security this time. No more hidden listening devices." As they reached the ship, Hae-Nul fell into step beside the captain. "The Council is already calling this the Human Protocols, a new framework for diplomacy based on mutual respect rather than power." "Will it last?" Ta-won asked skeptically. "It will if they're smart," Jae-ho replied. "And if not?" He didn't need to finish the thought. Later, as the Concordia prepared to depart for Earth, Ambassador Yoon stood alone in his quarters. He looked at a small hologram, an image of the Proxima colony, with children playing under alien skies. He felt the tension of the past weeks finally leaving his shoulders. The mask of perfect diplomacy he had worn for so long could relax. if only for a moment. We showed appropriate restraint, he whispered to the empty room. Our ancestors would be proud. Outside his window, the council station grew smaller as the Concordia turned toward home. Humanity had earned its place among the stars, not through conquest or submission, but by being exactly what they were: polite by choice, dangerous by nature, and unwilling to be pushed too far. The polite mode could be turned back on now, but the galaxy would never forget the day they saw it shut down.